Hi, this is Hell Hades, and this is another Raid Shadow Legends video. So today I want to do a champion guide on one of the best epics in the game. I was lucky to get this epic probably in my first 3 weeks, I'd say, of playing the game, from one of my first Void Shards. So today I'm going to show you Skullcrown. So Skullcrown, I'd say, is more legendary than most legendaries, or certainly I found that. She's so useful in a number of different areas of content in this game that she's just kind of like a standout champion for me. Certainly until you get to maybe the level 20 stuff, and then she's probably less useful, but she still then becomes a bit more of a specialist in certain areas. And I've consistently used Skullcrown in my arena team pretty much since I've played this game, so that's one of the areas where I'd say she becomes a specialist. Um, so if I just go through her skills quickly, so she's got an A1, which is an AoE, which is fantastic. So that and it actually hits pretty hard. So it hits hard as long as you've geared her well. She also has a chance to place, or not a chance, she absolutely places an extra hit if the target's got more than 50% HP. So basically, if you are going in with your first hit on a wave, it will always hit twice, unless you're doing too much damage that you bring them down below 50% with the first hit. So let's say you hit something and you do 75% of their health with your first hit, you don't get that second hit. But if you do about 40% of their damage, 40% of their HP with your first hit, you just go in and hit again. It's really good. It's really good at kind of content between, I don't know, maybe levels, dungeons levels 10 to 17 or so. She's really good, consistent farmer and wave clearer. What also helps her is her A2 is again AoE, so really strong, and it hits really hard as well. And it's got a chance to land a weaken as well. So it's on a 3 turn cooldown, and it's a really strong ability. She's also got actually got two passives, which is pretty unusual. So the first passive is amazing. This is really what brings her out in the arena so well. So she places an unkillable buff on herself every time her HP drops below 20%, and that is on a 4 turn cooldown once booked. So this is an amazing ability in faction wars, in a lot of the dungeon content, in arena. It's just amazing. So she can go down really low, she can take all of the hits and stay alive, and then come out the other end and do one of her kind of corrupting touch nukes and wipe out a team. It's really good. Some people I've seen actually put her in provoke gear because she's unkillable on that ability. Obviously, once it falls off, once that unkillable buff drops, then she's at very low health and is really vulnerable. So that's something to be aware of. But there's all sorts of ways you can gear Skullcrown, which is why she's so fun. The other thing which she has, again, is quite unique. So she's got one of these kind of partnership passives. So when she's on the same team as Sanisha, not only does she have this thing that procs, which makes her unkillable for a turn, once that falls off and she dies, if she's paired with Sanisha, she'll actually revive with 30% of her HP as she falls down. So that's on a 6 turn cooldown, so the chance of that happening twice in a run is unlikely. But the fact that it happens at all is amazing, actually. So again, really good pairing, and Sanisha's very good for dungeon content as well. I'll just quickly show you her. So Sanisha's almost the opposite to Skullcrown in a sense. She's the kind of support version of the offensive Skullcrown. So she's got an attacks all enemies, and actually she does a double hit if the enemies are less than 50%. So there's nice synergy there. She has got this heal, which also puts target skills on cooldown, and she has got an ability to equalize everybody's HP. So if one person or two people have gone down to about 5%, and you've got somebody still on, I don't know, a couple of champs still on 100%, she'll spread that HP right across the group, and then she heals a target ally by 10% of their max HP as well. Really strong ability, and when booked, it gets even stronger. Um, and she's got a nice aura. But yeah, but anyway, this is about Skullcrown. But what I will do is I will throw Sanisha into some of the content when I show you them in action, because it makes a big difference having the two together. So in terms of masteries, this is the way I set Skullcrown up. So this is my Skullcrown setup for Arena, and basically what I'm doing here is I've gone down the kind of crit rate, crit damage, and then increased damage when you're trying to hit targets with less than 40% HP. This is mainly because sometimes we're going against quite high level mobs in in the sort of higher level dungeons, and you just need to pick up some more damage as they're getting low. Another one here which increases damage when you're attacking someone with higher max HP. She's pretty glass cannony, so mainly she has a fairly low HP pool. So this one is always going to be kicking in Arena, it's going to be kicking in dungeons, really useful ability. We've got a kill streak ability, which basically makes her do more damage the more people she kills. And that goes right through both Arena and the dungeon content. And then down this side, so increases damage when attacking with 50% HP or less. So when she's got that unkillable buff on, she's still doing more damage, another 5%. We've got the one here which I often take for Arena Champs, so increases damage by 8% on the first hit. We've got another one here which gives me a chance to decrease the cooldown of a random skill. So if you think back to her skill set, this obviously has no cooldown, so it's an A1. This is the only ability that can have a cooldown. These are all passives. So actually it's on a 3-turn cooldown already. If you proc that mastery, it becomes a 2-turn cooldown, and it procs a reasonable amount of time. And then I've gone down here, so basically as she gains debuff, she does more damage, into Flawless Execution, which is the kind of plus crit damage build. Now this is quite interesting. So with Skullcrown, because you know she's going to take a hit, and it will hurt her a lot because she's quite squishy. So really what I've done here, I've built the defensive tree. The main reason is for this ability. So if she takes a hit, there's a good chance she's going to counter attack with her A1 and do an AoE against their whole team. It's really strong in the arena, it's really strong in some of the dungeon fights as well. It's really strong in faction wars, I really like it. I used to go down here to try and get more accuracy for that weakness debuff. It's never the right way to go, I would say. Always this way. So this particular Skullcrown that I'm looking at here is my 8 seconds campaign farmer, which I'll show you shortly. So the main things I'm looking at here is basically building a glass cannon. I want her to make sure she's got 100% crit rate. I want her to have as much crit damage as possible. I want her to have as much attack as possible. The other stats I don't care as much about, albeit I do use it now in Faction Wars as well. So some of these stats I've improved with things like I've got, not that one, sorry, I've got a banner which is now a HP banner on her with some defense stats and HP and a bit of speed, mainly for Faction Wars. So before that would have been an attack banner and I would just been pumping out as much attack as I could. Now I just wanted to try and give her a bit more survivability and not get her into that state of unkillable, which could drop off too quickly. So we've got a banner which is HP with some defensive stats. Crit damage almost always on the amulet if you can get one. I've gone attack here on the ring. There's an argument to say if you use her a lot in dungeons then you might get a bit more of a tankier ring, HP or defense. But as I say, this is my campaign farmer, so I'm mainly around looking for max crit rate and a max crit damage. So I've got crit rate gloves. I know I've gone over the cap here. I tried actually having crit damage gloves and I had something like an 89% crit rate, and then every now and again I would just not kill the last mob in campaign because I didn't hit a crit. So I thought I'd rather go over the crit rate and always get an 8-second farm instead of going under it and sometimes having that annoying back and forth 13-15 second fight in the campaign. So I've got attack percent damage on the chest with some crit rate and crit damage. I've got attack percent on the boots, again some crit damage in there. I've got crit damage, crit rate, same sort of things here. Crit damage, crit rate, attack. So you can see everything's kind of funneling towards giving me as much attacking stats as possible. I've managed to get 2 sets on her, so I've got the cruel set which gives me a boost, if you see here, so 2 set artifact set, attack plus 15%. Her base attack's actually very good. It's one of the higher epic base attacks in the game, so she benefits from this set bonus quite nicely, and it also ignores defense, so that's useful on her. And then I've got the more basic version of the same set really, so that one just gives me the attack percentage. But if you see, this is almost comical how slow she is, and yet in my arena team she almost always goes without the opponents having a turn, just because of the way I set it up. So this is Skullcrown number 1. In a similar way to what I showed you on Bellower, I do have a second Skullcrown, and I'd like to show you a kind of different way of building a Skullcrown for different types of content. So this Skullcrown really, I use her in Faction Wars, and I used to use her as a second person in Arena. I've got her in a Relentless set, and that's with the hope that she'll get 2 hits instead of 1, or potentially more than that, 2, 3 hits. Her gear's not as good, but ultimately I'm looking for crit rate again, some crit damage, a bit more sustainability than the other one, but ultimately I'm looking for a bit more speed on this one. So this one I'm hoping goes more often, and I've pumped the accuracy up a little bit more so that she does try and land that weakness, almost to set up my other Skullcrown really. So she goes first, she does the work, and sorry, it's not a relentless set, it's a stun set. So what I'm looking to do is to stun the opponents as many times as I can to stop them from moving, to then set up my other Skullcrown. So yeah, so you'll see the sets here. It's kind of a similar thing, but there's more defensive stats going on. So I still want my crit rate, but I'm looking now for speed and defense, or speed and HP as well. So crit rate on here for the gloves. I've got some speed nice in here, got some crit damage. It's not amazing gear, but it's good gear. Good crit rate rolls in here, and some speed. And yeah, these are mainly got on for the speed, but has got a bit of crit damage and a bit of HP. So all in all, reasonable gear set. It's not all 6-star stuff. You know, I've got an amulet here with 25%. I could roll out on a different amulet. I'm sure I've got one in here somewhere. Yeah, I've got one in here somewhere, but ultimately I only use her for a small portion of the content at the moment. So she is a kind of fill-in champ. I don't want to over-invest when silver is a very useful commodity to keep. So just to show you Mastery set, I've actually got something slightly different, but a similar theme. So I've gone pretty similar set, but instead of coming down here to Flawless Execution, because she's not my main damage dealer, I've actually gone for a different route. I've gone for Helm Smasher. So actually 50% chance of ignoring 25% target defense. So if you think about Faction Wars, all of those champs are just tanked with defense, and what I'm looking at here is if she comes into Faction Wars, she might be able to do a bit of damage for me in a different way. So, you know, it's a 50% chance, so it's not guaranteed. It's a bit more down to RNG, but when they do proc, it actually makes better use of the type of gear she's wearing. And then I've got a similar sort of build here. I do have the opportunity to place a leech when someone's stunned, so she's wearing a stun set. Hopefully she can place leeches as well. And I've also got a chance for her to counterattack when somebody else is stunned or slept or frozen. That's important for Faction Wars because there's so much CC coming back at you. So it just means I've got more chances of getting those counterattacks on, and her counterattacks are always AoE. So I think, yeah, aesthetically she's a really cool looking champ, very different until you see someone that's just been reskinned on her. But I really like the design, and I actually really like her, the way she works in different dungeons and things. Let's do a quick review. So if I think about campaign, she's absolutely 5-star. She is probably, I don't know, she's got to be one of the top 3 campaign farmers around getting that 7-8 second farm. Spider's Den, I'd say she is amazing, probably up until around level 17, and after that she drops off. After 17, just AoE in the waves is not enough anymore. You need a lot more turn meter control and a lot more thinking into your sets. Arena offense, she's a definite 5. Arena defense, she's a definite 5, and I'll show you a way I built that just to give you some ideas. Clan boss, she's not so good. She's got a weaken. Early level clan boss, she's okay, but I'd say probably a 2. Not really worth using for clan boss. It's about the only area of the game where she's got no real use. Minotaur, she's amazing. She can just clear through waves. Dragons, same. Albeit on the actual dragon boss, she brings a weaken, but she doesn't bring much else. So she's not the quickest when you get to the actual dragon boss. But yeah, probably a 4 then for that. Ice Golem's really cool. She nukes waves fast. She has that unkillable debuff, so you can actually set her up with a Skull Crusher on the earlier levels, 2 Skull Crowns, a Skull Crusher, get counter attack on, and basically they're just destroying the ice golem without him really doing anything, and they're unkillable. So it creates a lot of fun. I'll show you something around that as well. Fire Knight, she's not so good. She only has a single hit ability, so I'd say maybe a 2. I wouldn't take her in there at all. Then all of the keeps, she doesn't bring the kind of necessary utility, I guess, in terms of reducing defense or removing shields and that type of thing, but she does just bring such a high level of wave clear that she's worth bringing into any of this content. So really strong overall champion, one of my favourite champions, definitely one of my favourite epics in the game. So there we go. So that's submitted, brilliant. So yeah, let's get into some different stuff. Let's go for, I think we'd go into some dungeons first. So what I'm going to do is take her into Mino. I'm going to take both of the Skullcrowns in, and I'm going to take my Sanisha in. Let's get rid of these guys. So I think let's just put a Tayrail lead to give us a defense down. Skullcrown number 1, Skullcrown number 2, and then maybe we just throw someone like an Arbiter in for, Apothecary in for speed, and we'll just throw somebody else in with some defense down, perhaps a Zargala. This is a type of comp which you'd hope that a lot of players in the game are starting to pull some of these type of champions. Maybe not all of them, but it's gives you an idea of how it works. We're probably just going to blitz through this because this content is still relatively easy. But there you go. So we've got a chance to see now. So first Skullcrown went. She's got 1 stun off. And then if we see the second one go, she drops the nukes, and they all sort of die down there. So you can see there, because the boss is at high health, we got the double hits off. Now we've got the weaken on already, which is nice. Then again, double hits again. So at this part of the fight, it's really strong. What she doesn't have is the kind of single target nuke capability of somebody like a Cold Heart or Royal Guard. So that's probably the only thing I'd say that lets her down, is that ability to do a real kind of nuke single target hits, which is why I think she drops off a little bit when it comes to the sort of real end game content in dungeons. She doesn't really feature in my teams anymore, but she did up until levels sort of 17 or so. Okay, so it gives you an idea there. Let's have a look at another couple of fights. So I think we're going to go into Ice Golems. This is quite a fun one for her. I'm not going to go down to level 20. She would struggle on level 20, and I want to show you some content where it's actually worth your while. So if I come back to 16, what I do, actually I'm going to leave him in. Skull Crusher in, take Bella out. So yeah, so I'm going to put the 2 Skullcrowns in, and I'm going to put Sanisha in as well, who she partners well with. So if you remember, they've got a passive that works well together. I wish there was a search option on this bar. Here we go. So yeah, let's just run it through. So basically what we've got is a bit of utility here. We've got defense down, we've got somebody that controls turn meter, we've got somebody that can apply a weakness and hits AoEs all the time, a second person at AoEs but gives us some healing, and then a counter attack champ, which starts to be quite fun when you actually get onto the boss element of the fight. It actually just helps with this type of comp where you've got AoE champions. If you've got a counter attack person like Skull Crusher, yeah, I mean, we're not needing to counter here, but it just kind of gives you an idea when we get to the boss what actually happens. But you see the stronger hitting Skullcrown is hitting for over double what my other one is. But they're just set up, and there you go. See, we've got the counter attack there. So she took a hit, she got the counter attack, and she's hit straight back, killing one within that hit. So that's where the usefulness of that mastery comes in. You see we're getting these stuns off here as well. It's making the wave clear really easy. Now when we get to the actual boss fight, this can be quite a hairy boss when you're at the higher levels of the game, especially if the ads are up. So at this sort of level, if you can take AoE champs in to clear off the ads, it really helps us. Especially here, so we've got a lot of defense downs on us. We're in trouble really. Let's get our counter attack up and let's see how we react when he fires a nuke at us, which is going to come relatively soon. Here we go. So we've got the counter attacks coming in. We've got the decrease attack in now from Tyrell, so it brings a bit of utility for us. Got Skullcrowns there going in, doing a decent chunk of damage a time. We've got Sinesha basically doing some healing for us and also doing a decent amount of damage as well. So the two adds are back up, which means that this Ice Golem is going to hit harder now next time he comes in. But we've got our counter attacks back on, so although it's looking pretty ropey, I think we're still in good shape. So the amount of damage we're doing here is, in terms of AoE, is just really strong. And that's dropped one of the adds down. If we drop the other one down, now he's on decrease attack and he doesn't have the adds to remove our defense. So we should be in good shape. We've still got our counter attack on one of the Skullcrowns, the stronger one. So as soon as the adds are coming back up, they take a hit straight away. Here we go, adds down again, nuked by the strong Skullcrown. So far, our unkillable buff has just fallen off here, but she's got that passive, so she's come back up. Still landing our stuns to keep us to keep the adds at bay. We've got a stronger Skullcrown taking the heals from Sinesha, so again, really useful. And yeah, as I say, I mean, it's not the quickest kind of clear times, but you think about it, this is not low level content I'm showing you here. This is a reasonable level. We've lost one of the Skullcrowns, but we're quite close to the end of the fight. We've still got our counter attacks going up. We've still got the passive on this Skullcrown that she'll come back to life anyway. What I'll do is I'll just target the boss here so that we don't end up going for the adds at this stage. I just want to clear it. Got my counter attack, so we should just wipe it. There you go. So as I say, quite a fun setup. It looks daunting at times as you think I'm going down, but actually you've got a lot of sustainability in quite a squishy team there. As I say, when you get to sort of stage 18, 19, that type of setup needs more protection. But it's up until 17 or so, it's worth doing that because it's just clearing your waves quicker, reasonable clear time. So that is Ice Golems. Let's show you spiders. Okay, so we're going to go against the spider. We're going to go up against level 15, which is I think about the sort of right level where Skullcrowns are still super relevant in spider. If you go too far above that, then she doesn't really bring enough utility. She doesn't bring the turn meter reductions, the single target nukes. She's good at wave control, but actually wave control is not really enough when you get to later levels in spider. So I'm going to put in a couple of champions which will just help us keep the boss under control. So I'm going to put in a Tyrell. I'm going to put in a Cold Heart, and that gives me my nuke and my turn meter down. And I'm going to put in a Skull Crusher for the counter attack. So similar sort of setup to what I was looking at with the Ice Golem. And if you see here, so the way this should run through is we've got someone like a Tyrell land in decreased defense. That's on there nicely. We have the Skullcrown who's got the sort of, I guess, less stronger gear in terms of hitting, will land the weakness for us, but she would also land some stuns most waves. We've got the other Skullcrown that's landing nukes, which should just keep the wave clear. And then they're all on counter attacks here, so if the spiderlings do start to get fast enough, they'll be taking AoEs back from the champions here. So you see we've got all the counters rolling in now. Well, it's just with someone like a Skull Crusher build at this level, you know, around 15, 16, that works nicely. So we should get a nuke coming in now from Cold Heart. So bang, that's a good chunky hit, 500 odds. And the idea is here, you know, we just kind of whittle them down, make sure that we're keeping the spiders under control in terms of wave management, and ideally we keep this turn meter in some sort of control as well. He will get a turn. There's not enough turn meter control here to stop him having to go at all, but as long as we're keeping the number of the spiders down, when it actually comes on with a hit, he's got decreased attack on him, and so you see here what I'm being hit for, 1700s. It's not really too chunky, so You know, for me, that's reasonable. I can deal with that with this type of composition. This type of composition, you know, if you've got these sort of champions, and you can definitely swap out one of these Skullcrowns for a Bellower or any of the other kind of reasonable AoE champions. You can use this type of team to get you through right through to level 17, 18, maybe 17. After that, you need to invent some better tactics, really. So see here, he's taking a bit of a pounding. Actually, might end up going down, but I already feel like we've done enough damage to make sure that we win this. Cleared the wave. That way that when the spider has a hit, it's not going to be hitting us for too much. And I'm not sure if we're due the nuke yet, and that's going to be the next attack. So I'd imagine, yeah, we're going to lose Tyrell, but I think the next attack, as long as Coldheart's still alive, we're going to clear the boss out. Got the counter attack back up now, so every time we take a hit, we're going to just be able to come back, but we're not going to take one. So yeah, decent strat. I mean, it's what, stage 15, so it's not the highest level, but then I don't think she's suitable for that higher level. Maybe one supported by a lot of other champions, but even then she's not really going to help you. So that's why I said on my overview she's very strong, but when you get to later levels she weakens off a bit. All of these she's just going to blast through. I'll show you one very quickly. She'll just blast through waves with the sort of gear that I'm running. Let's take these guys out. Let's just do the same setup again. Actually throw him in. This sort of content now, I'd imagine it's going to get tougher before long because it's not really in tune with the rest of the game. It's so easy to sort of blast through. But then maybe that's right. In fairness, you know, we don't want to be spending hours of our lives just farming pots. There's enough content in this game that takes a reasonable amount of time to farm through it, so I think this is probably not a bad thing. So I'll just get them to target the boss. I've shown you before, but if you left click under somebody, it changes the target. See, now it's got that red cross. So that just means anytime a single target person like a Tyrell goes in, he's always going to be aiming at the boss and not one of these other ads. The AI is set up that they'll always go for the ads before they start going for the boss. So as you see, the thing with this sort of team is when you get to single target, they actually don't do the most damage, especially when you've got shields up. I haven't got anyone that's going to remove that shield, so we're just hitting relatively weak. But if I had someone like someone that can cleanse, or somebody that can just single target nuke like a Coldheart, then this runs much quicker. But we've got no worries about whether we're going to do it or not. The content's pretty easy, and we'll just finish them off probably the next hit or so. Yeah, so it gives you an idea, but really good for that type of content. She's perfect for it. And I shall show you Dragon as well. I'm actually only going to show you, I'll show you stage 16. This team looks fine. And I'll keep him in. Yeah, let's go with this. What I'll do is I'll only show you up to the waves, because otherwise it's going to run on a bit long. I think the video is probably already running on longer than I thought it would actually, but it's useful to just see how well they maintain this wave control. So look here, what, 10 seconds, we're through wave 1. It's when you get to the actual dragon, if you've got a team like this, I guess Coldheart's going to give us that dragon ability, that dragon nuke, but yeah, we don't have the kind of single target nuke, as I was saying, to be able to deal with something like the dragon. But we're 30 seconds onto the dragon, defense down already, weakness up already, and it might be actually that Coldheart just runs us through this pretty quick, in fairness. So we're doing double hits every time HP is above 50%, as we should be. This is the dangerous part of the dragon fight. Normally if you've got a team with a lot of poisons, that will just clear that back. Coldhearts are good as well, just to clear that part off. That's the most dangerous part, because it stuns you all, and then you're almost taking a free hit. But yeah, actually this is going to be a relatively quick run. So nearly done. And that was Dragon. So I mean, as I say, it's only stage 16. It's not like I'm at the far, complete end game, but I am using a team of 3 epics, 2 rares. So hopefully, a lot of people that are watching this will have similar composition possibilities. I think that's probably it for there. I just want to quickly show you campaign, how good she can be as the campaign farmer. So with the setup I've got, I have her as my lead campaign farmer. Just going to put someone in that I want to level because I've got this girl that I want to show you in arena soon. Here she is. Yep, let's just go in. So you'll see this is full auto, nothing I need to do here. I've got it set up so that she basically just blasts through a wave. That one clears a wave so easily. She then blasts through 29, 20, 28k, easily does it. This is 100% clear, so even if I don't get the nuke at the end there, she basically got the reduced cooldown because of that mastery I set up. But if she doesn't get that reduced cooldown, I think she just got it again actually. It shows how often it procs, but yeah, I did. But anyway, if she did her A1, it would still clear that with no problems. I never fails, not a single time with the setup I've got. So lastly, just want to show you the arena. So the arena is where she probably shines the most. You'll see her in a lot of arena teams. I have her as my nuker in this sort of single target team. So you'll see her quickly run through this content. Up until probably, I don't know, maybe a month ago, I also had a defensive team which had both of my Skullcrowns in it. And that was actually set with a Skull Crusher. So you see here, she's basically laying the nukes. It's relatively quick. I don't really run into much problems with this sort of composition. Typically we've got someone who's putting up a fight. As I do on a live stream, live YouTube record. Actually this Valk's built pretty well, pretty strong, but oh, still going. Well done. And away we go. Yeah, so and that's one idea. So I'll show you how I would have played it through as a defensive comp. Actually, someone's got one here really similar to what I used to do. So 2 Skull Crowns, a speed lead, and then someone that does your decreased defense. The difference that I did is I actually had, I'll show you, I had Skull Crusher in with her. So still speed lead, but Skull Crusher. So she speeds up, Skull Crusher, he puts on counter attack. If I get a chance, these hit first anyway. But even if I don't, then I should get the counter attacks in, and the counter attacks do a lot of damage. So it's throw out an auto. I throw out an auto because that's actually how defense will play. Obviously, these champs here are not doing what a human would do that make them do, but it's the closest I can get to replicating what a defensive setup would do. So everyone took a hit. Here comes the counter attacks. Actually, I've got a stun here, but I think we're going to be fine. So I've got 1, 2, 3 people that are unkillable. So it looks like I'm in trouble, but because she's unkillable, it's so unlikely that I'm going to lose. And yeah, often I've come in clutch with just my Skullcrown standing, and she nukes the team with the last ability when she comes off of that unkillable. So that's arena. So I've shown you arena, I've shown you campaign, I've shown you the dungeons. She's not suitable for clan boss. She's just not of a build just doesn't make it worthwhile. So I'm Hell Hades. This is my channel, Addicted to Gaming. Please come back again.